Hello, everyone. This is Space PowerPoint. This is a new session, and this is AI for society. And I will be introducing
Can we get your attention? Thank you.
Vela, an instructional designer, and then I will also have Seetha.
Seetha's not here.
Seetha's out today. All right. Well.
What now?
You move to the next slide.
Oh, okay.
There you
All
go.
right. Seetha's not here, and then we have our here, instructional designers.
Thank you.
We'll see if you're clapping at the end. Just a funny side note. I was in the previous session and I was sitting next to one of my friends. And I said, I'm kind of nervous about this. She says, "Oh, you've done this all the time. You do IA all the time." I said, no, that's intelligent agents. I do that all the time. This is the first time for this. So anyways, my name is Harlan Williams. And of course, this is my colleague, Anthony Vela. And so we're going to be talking about not AI, not AI today. Let me go ahead and just get started with my presentation. Our topics today are going to be current capabilities in higher education, AI in instructional design, and I'm going to do an overview of HB 149. So, ever since generative AI first burst upon the popular stage in late 2022, people have been struggling with trying to figure out just what it really is and what to do with it. Some have dismissed it as being not much more than a souped up algorithm. Some claim it is just a very smart search engine. And others go to the other extreme, fearing that generative AI will cause mass job displacement, intrude upon privacy, promote misinformation and disinformation, and in general be used unethically. The sad reality of this is the truth is somewhere in the middle. Sam Altman himself of OpenAI, the company which wrote and owns ChatGPT, acknowledges the potential of job displacement, perhaps of whole categories of jobs. Mark Zuckerberg expects AI to write half the company's code within the next year. The World Economic Forum predicts a net loss of 14 million jobs, roughly 2% of the digital workforce, by 2027. Goldman Sachs projections are even more dire. They forecast that 300 million jobs worldwide could be lost to or downgraded by AI. And of course, that's just in the job sector. But we in higher education have to think about that. We can't act like we are above economic impacts. Our students' capability post-graduation of finding meaningful employment has to be front of mind as we develop our curriculum and grapple with the challenge of generative AI. For generative AI is far less than the end of the world, but far more than a fancy search engine. Within higher education, generative AI is already proving to be a transformative agent and causing us to rethink our assessments, i.e. papers, essays, exams, discussions, assignments, etc., all of our basic assessment needs. We also now have to reconsider issues of plagiarism, authorship, honor codes, and other ethical concerns. But transcending the moral challenges presented by generative AI, the new technology also opens a host of new opportunities. By now, we in higher education are familiar with such things as chatbots, which are AI software robots that use a large language model to generate human-like text, engage in conversations, and more. And just the definition, a large language model is a type of AI program that is trained on massive amounts of text data to understand and generate human-like language. But AI is also being used to create simulations in virtual reality, make customized learning paths, perform automatic transcription, provide translation services, assist with content creation, make lesson plans, develop assessments, improve accessibility, and so on. I've only touched upon the tip of the generative AI iceberg at this opener, but any one of the topics I have mentioned could be a 2-hour seminar. However, we only have 45 minutes together. So our focus by necessity must be very narrow. So I will begin by introducing some of the fundamental tools we have available to us at Lone Star College. Specifically, we will look at the top chatbots and the AI-powered tools we have at our disposal. Then Amberly will present her AI journey as she shares with you her experiences with using AI to build a psychology course. And then I will return to provide an overview of House Bill 149, the newly enacted Texas legislation for regulating AI. Following that, we will open the floor to discussion. So that's our itinerary. Let's get started. Probably the first thing most of us think about when asked about AI or generative AI is ChatGPT. A chatbot, ChatGPT was first out of the gate in 2022. And as is said in economics, has the benefit of first mover advantage over its other competitors, meaning that it has very strong brand recognition and a good bit of customer or user loyalty. And for a while there, it had pretty much no competition. But since then, other products have arisen, many in fact. But for our purposes, we will look at just a few. ChatGPT can be accessed either by app or on the web at openai.com. Besides its chatbot role, ChatGPT can also handle image and audio inputs and generate images. It can write and debug computer code, explain complex concepts, generate quizzes and homework help, translate between languages, draft articles, social media posts and emails, and summarize data. And it can even be used for brainstorming ideas, writing stories, and even poems. Copilot, is Microsoft's entry in the fray. It can provide suggestions, automate tasks, as well as the traditional chatbot. Here at Lone Star College, we have an enterprise license with Microsoft, which has been extended to include Copilot. You can use Copilot on both your office and personal computers. The quickest way to get to Copilot is through Outlook. There should be a bar on the left-hand side, right there, as well as on the left-hand side. Click the Copilot button, which should open the enterprise version. My experience is that there is a free version on the desktop, but by logging into the enterprise version, you will unlock more features. Now, on a personal note, I wrote the script for this presentation and asked Copilot to integrate it into a PowerPoint presentation. It failed miserably. I could not do it. So things are not quite as rosy and seamless as we might hope for them to be. Next up is Claude. Claude can do all of the usual things that we expect of a chatbot. Serve as a chatbot, write and edit text, generate code, analyze documents, summarize information, make creative content, etc. But Claude differs from the others with a feature it calls constitutional AI. This is important. This is a safety-focused approach where the large language models are trained to follow ethical principles on their own without human guidance. The company that owns Claude, Anthropic, states that it automatically deletes prompts and outputs from its backend in 90 days and does not use conversations to train its models. This may offer some comfort to privacy-minded people. Claude may have another edge over the competition via its ability to analyze very large documents, the rough equivalent of 500 pages. Claude has another interesting little feature that I've not tested, but sounds intriguing. It has a computer use feature. See this coming up? Yep. That allows it to access your computer desktop and mimic keyboard and mouse input. This means that Claude can, on its own, execute complex, multi-step tasks across varying applications. Claude can be accessed off the web at www.claude.ai. Now let's take a look at Perplexity. This somewhat oddly named app actually combines models used by both OpenAI, which owns ChatGPT, and Anthropic, and allows users to choose the best model for their needs. In my opinion, Perplexity is the app closest to being a supercharged search engine, offering various search modes beyond its regular search, including Pro Search, Deep Research, and Labs, which serve different research needs. Perplexity's responses include citations and links to the original sources, which allows users to verify the information and take their research further. You can find Perplexity at www.perplexity.ai. It has recently been announced that Perplexity has made a major bid to acquire the Google Chrome browser, a program which has its own chatbot called Gemini. I've not tested Gemini much, but I've seen it in my Facebook account. You may have seen it too, and in my text messaging app. And in more business news, Perplexity itself may be a target of acquisition by Apple or even potentially by Google. So there is quite a bit of potential churn in the generative AI field. So now to wrap up this very brief overview of just the most basic AI tools we have on hand at Lone Star College, I'll end with a look at applications we have access to that utilize AI without necessarily calling themselves AI apps. Good. IntelliWriter is a virtual writing coach powered by artificial intelligence, designed to help students improve their writing skills. It includes plagiarism detection to help students avoid running afoul of academic integrity rules. Here at Lone Star College, IntelliWriter is directly integrated into D2L, allowing students to access it from within their online courses. Turnitin is an application many of us are quite familiar with. It analyzes text for originality and provides an originality score when it's finished. Now, it's always done that, but in the past year, it has also added AI detection to its skill set, enabling it to identify text that may have been generated by AI tools like ChatGPT and the rest. Now, I want you to use this tool carefully and judiciously, as it is not foolproof and should not be used as the sole basis for academic integrity issues. And an ironic twist, the latest version of Turnitin now uses AI to detect AI. I love that. Adobe Firefly uses artificial intelligence to generate images from text. It's not perfect, okay, but it's pretty good. We already have access to it. It should be noted that ChatGPT, Copilot, and Claude also have text-to-image capability of varying degrees of effectiveness. And lastly, the newest addition to the AI toolbox here at Lone Star College is the LSC chatbot. Did it go? Okay, yes. Access from within the VTAC support page. It has been trained in all the virtual teaching assistance center support articles and exists to help faculty with online related questions. VTAC is on the web. Oh, there it is. VTAC is on the web at vtac.lonestar.edu. Now, there are literally hundreds more specialized applications out there. Various teams around the system, including my own, are investigating some of them. There is just no time today to even list what they can do, much less what they are. All I can say is that we are now at the point where if you can envision a need that AI might fulfill, someone is likely to already have tried it. The caveat is that almost all will want you to pay. Will want you to pay something for them, but they almost all have a service level that you can access for free, okay? And that's it for me. And for now, I will toss to Amberly.
Thank you, Harlan. May I have the clicker, please? Okay, so I am going to just talk about how I have tested out ChatGPT over the summer and used it to implement some new things that I wanted to try in my course. Go to a lot of professional development training. You get all these wonderful, great ideas, but you're like, I don't have time. How do I even start this? So I, in the spring, went to a specifications grading professional development, and I got super excited and I wanted to jump in and try it right away. But it was at the end of spring and everybody was leaving for summer, so I had no one to help me, no one to bounce ideas off of. So I went to ChatGPT with this challenge. I wanted to build an 8-week online general psych course that followed specifications grading, was student-centered, fit a narrative structure that students could follow, use weekly objectives connected to the SLOs, balance rigor with empathy and engagement, and also followed an inclusive syllabus. That's a lot. So I went to them, to ChatGPT, as a design partner. It helped to translate the specs grading into student-friendly story, scaffold weekly assignments into meaningful flow, to co-write instructions, rubrics, discussion prompts. So if you're building an entire course, it could take several months, right? Especially if you've got something new you want to try. How do I even get started? Okay. I used it. I don't want a class that just covers the topics. I want to send my students through a journey. I want them to have an experience that they remember and make learning engaging, right? So it helped me start off with just and I also do this in there. Anybody familiar with the inclusive syllabus?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So I threw in some terminology from that, and I said, help me, with the 6 principles, help me redefine or redo my syllabus. And it started off with just some narrative framing on the chapters. So I still have the regular name for the chapters so that, students that can't think where my mind is going will understand that the science of psychology, we're going to go around, the quest begins. What is psychology? The second one, we go brain and behavior, sensation and perception, the machinery behind the mind. So it just kind of helps frame it nicely and dramatically so that maybe hooks them with some more interest, right? So that's one of the things that just kind of helped me get some ideas like that. Another thing is with the narrative specs grading pyramid, we have the students kind of rising up this mountain to get to the summit, which is a grade of A. So it kind of gives them a visual theme. I can also get a picture with the image of a mountain that kind of has the grade levels and what they need to complete in each of the grading bundles that I put together to get to their summit or wherever they want to be, right? That's the whole idea around specs grading, but that's a whole nother topic. Key ways that I used it, it helped me generate the essential questions, not only around the entire course to hook them in for that and get them excited for the semester, but also around each weekly module that we have going on. Help me kind of start each week with important questions that kind of hook them in. Grading system helped me design and visualize the specifications tiers. There's so many ways that you can do that. I gave it my ideas and it helped generate some other ideas, and together we ended up, I think I have a specs grading 1, specs grading 2.0, specs grading 3.0, the different versions that I've put together. It helped me with drafting clear, student-friendly prompts, created pass and pass trackers and bundled grading logic, helped me with checklists, and also making sure that we stay aligned with the SLOs, and then also with just some ideas for creating authentic assessments that students can use with their application assignments. I had a very lengthy conversation, and it's still ongoing because I've had like I said, I'm on my 3rd generation of my specs grading course already because I started at the beginning of the summer. But it all started with, hey, ChatGPT, are you familiar with specifications grading? And it spit out this whole long thing, named the author, the kind of general idea of it, what goes behind it, all of that good stuff. And it all went from there. So I started giving it my information, what I want to do with the course, how I want it to look. It worked pretty well. It helped me move faster. It helped me get new ideas. It kept my tone consistent across all the materials. I stayed in control, but it was my partner to bounce ideas off of when nobody else was around to do this with. Also gave me templates that I could revise instead of starting from scratch. A few things that did happen though that I learned the hard way. Of course, it isn't a subject matter expert. That wasn't it. I know to fact check that stuff, but also it can create a hot mess if you let it. So it can give me like a whole 8-week plan of ideas with discussions, all with my narrative approach that I'm using. But if I go in and ask it a question like, I really don't like this, it's not lining up, and tell me again how this meets this objective because it's not working right. Oh, you know what? You're right. Let's do this. And then I'll change the whole thing. And I'm like, oh no, I just need to do the key split thing, So we go back and forth a lot. Also, you have to do a lot of redirecting. So sometimes it can end up taking longer, but as your instructional designer, I will test all these things out and work the bugs out so that, I can help you get through it faster. It also can help with some personalization, but you have to give it more information and feed it some details. Key takeaways from my experience, it didn't design my course for me. It helped me think faster, draft quicker, and build better. So with it using an instructional design, it's not about replacing, it's about scaling it. So be specific with your prompts, iterate often, treat it like a design partner, trust your instincts. And then keep also the student experience at the center. Yes.
Are you using the paid version or?
Yes. Let me
Yes,
just say
yeah,
that.
absolutely, because what I found is as soon as I switched to the paid version,
Mhm.
it saved my chats,
Mhm.
what was a great thing, but it also knew who I was.
Mhm.
So it started to tailor content for what I had liked in the past, and it got much more on target for me.
Yes.
When I was working with the free version, it was like start from the beginning every time.
Yes. Yes. I do pay for it. I've been paying for it for well over a year now.
Yeah, me too.
And it knows me pretty well. But and I can even start a whole new chat with it and be like, hey, do you remember that 8-week course we set up? Oh yeah, about this, this, and this. What do you want to do now? Like, well, I learned this new thing that I'd like to try. Great. Give me your syllabus. We'll figure it out. This is where you can go in and plug in your essential questions and your principles of inclusive syllabus, Yes.
So I know that Canvas is coming out with an AI thing that's going to be embedded into the class if you want to use it.
Mm-hmm.
People think about doing the same things? And that's the first question. And the second question, when I've been developing bots and embedding, so I can develop the bot with the paid version, I can embed it in my class, and some of these are fantastic. So I've done a lot of quizzing bots, and it will generate 5 questions, and I tell it, provide student feedback, and then generate another 5 questions based upon mistakes they made the first time.
Nice.
And so I have an adaptive learning thing that's free.
Mm-hmm.
But if I put this in my class, right, they're using it on the web. So is that FERPA compliant? And the reason I'm asking is that although they're not entering any student data, of course, they do have an ISP address.
Mm-hmm.
So they know who they are.
Right.
It's just like they know who I am because I have my cell phone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we're getting into the weeds there. That's not for me to answer those questions. But
So
it
that's
is.
important questions though.
Yeah, it is very important questions, but it's not for me to
But
answer
if it's
those.
FERPA compliant, I need to know. I need to know that because I shouldn't be doing it.
Right. I mean, it is learning your information.
And it's learning my students' information, and their information is being used to train their model.
Mm-hmm. It depends on how you use it. I haven't used it for that sort of thing. I don't put any of my students' information in there. What's that?
It's not student information. Dr. Green has the
That's one of the things we're very careful with, because anytime we bring in new technology, we need to make sure we're not sharing out our students' information. So that's one of the things that right now there's a pilot going on campus for Lumi Pro. That is about creating their model that is specifically ingrained in class. As we try to start looking at broader implications, we get a lot of guidance from our legal department.
Yeah.
So we're not putting anything into our systems that we can't legally agree to as far as,
So they're not, it's just a tool that's residing on the web. I mean, if they're using AI themselves when they're doing their homework assignment, they're putting their information out
information in there, yes.
And if it's open AI, of course it's being used to
Train a model.
train a model.
Yeah.
So and then what is student information? Is that considered student information, or are we talking about names, grades?
Usually it would be those things that you're mentioning.
Yeah.
But like I said, anytime we do any kind of integration with the system, including before we put Lumi Pro in for the pilot, we go to legal, and legal will go through the contract to make sure, how is this, because we also have something in Texas, well, in the United States actually called Texas RAM, where we need to make sure that any third party you're doing business is compliant and how they store your data and so on. So my team and then the legal team all get together and look at these things. Now to come back to your question about Canvas going into adding an AI element, we actually are starting to soon in the next couple of weeks. I'll be sending out we're planning on doing an RFP for the LMS coming up. The reason why is our existing contract with D12 expires in December 18, 2028. But I can't guarantee that when we put the RFP committee together, that we will stay with D12. So what I do is I'll build it out in my project plan that we need to find whichever group we're going to, and we need at least 2 years to change over. So I'm gonna start doing an RFP soon, but y'all will see as faculty, something will come up from my area asking, what are y'all looking for in a future LMS, or what aspects do you want to see in LMS that help inform my writing of the RFP? But yeah, back to Lumi Pro, anything. Right now, D2L has some add-ons, meaning you have to pay extra for it.
Yeah, I've learned that the name of the LMS is only the tip of the iceberg.
Yes.
So I'm it's all contractual, because I've worked with LMSs in different people's configuration, and I'm like, is this the same thing?
Yes. No, so you can pay for add-ons, and we do, but what we have to do, we always have to test things first to make sure, because we're a big system. And like Chancellor was talking about, we don't want to be a connoisseur, we want to be a
Velociraptor.
So yeah, but with us, my LMS team, everybody uses us, regardless if you're ground, hybrid, online. We support all 90,000 students every semester. So we need to be very careful. We're very intent. We do everything intentionally. So we are looking at additional AI tools that could be implemented. Obviously, we need to look at cost, we need to look at security.
Oh,
But
yeah.
yeah, these things are always being looked at. My team is always investigating what's the latest, greatest thing out there. But we don't just want something because it's great. We want to see what it actually does.
Well, it would be even more powerful, from my perspective, if this bot lay behind Lone Star's firewall, so only Lone Star data was using to change the model. I get anybody for link to use my bot, but,
Yeah, well, and that's how it is with the bot we have built into VTAC that Harlan showed earlier.
right,
So that is behind our firewall, that only learns from our stuff, it's not shared with anybody outside. the
much
system.
more tailored to
Yeah.
my use.
And that's the way that Lumi works. Lumi just will work with your course content. It only looks at what's in your course content. It doesn't train anything else. And once that course ends, that's the end of that session. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but yeah, so we are looking at these things. AI is not going to go away anytime soon. We are looking at ways to make sure we safeguard data, safeguard our systems, because anything we plug into also reads in, like with simple syllabus. Simple syllabus will now talk to D2L and with the
So,
iStar.
I'm gonna,
Oh, yeah, we're getting on.
we're gonna have a discussion at the end of our session. Okay, but let's go ahead and roll on with what she
Well,
wants to
the other
say.
thing you could do is look for the privacy policies of what you're using and make sure you have a link for that in your course and make students aware that they can go view that if they want to do that. I think I was done.
Oh, okay, all right. So, yesterday about 2:00, we were all discussing this in Teams and found out that our friend and colleague, Seetha, was going to be sick today. So this is 2:00, and now we've lost a third of our presentation. So, as it turned out, the day before, I was listening to the radio, listening to NPR, and a story came up about House Bill 149, the Texas regulations on regulating AI. So that actually might be something a good fill-in. And so what I did was I found an article that discussed it, and it was long and technical. I took that, fed that into Copilot, and it spit back out perfectly good bullet points. Okay, what you're about to see is that, and the reason why I'm telling you this is because this is a real-world application of what this can do for you. There's a whole lot of, well, yeah, it's all pie in the sky and it's all kind of, it's great, but what do you do? This saved our bacon, okay? I'm telling you right now, this allowed us to be able to present something to you. So the Texas Responsible Artificial, let's see here. Did I press the button? Oh, there it is, okay. The Texas Responsible Artificial Intelligence Governance Act. Signed into law by Governor Greg Abbott on June 22nd, 2025, establishes a regulatory framework for AI systems in Texas. It becomes effective next year, 2026, and applies to developers, deployers, and government entities using AI systems in the state. Its scope and applicability is 1, individuals and entities conducting business in Texas or offering AI products, services to Texas residents. It applies to government entities, excluding hospital districts and higher education institutions. Keep that in mind, Dr. AI systems broadly defined as machine-based systems that infer from inputs to generate outputs influencing environments. TREGA bans AI systems that intentionally discriminate against protected classes, AI used to manipulate behavior towards self-harm, violence, or criminal activity, AI systems that infringe on constitutional rights, government use of AI for social scoring. Now, I'm really kind of surprised and impressed that the legislators were aware of social scoring. Of course, as we don't know, legislation it's usually drafted by interested third parties, not by the legislators themselves. Biometric identification without consent, especially using data scraped from the internet. Production, distribution of sexually explicit content or child pornography via AI. Transparency requirements. Government agencies must disclose when consumers interact with AI systems, regardless of whether or not the interaction is obvious. Private businesses are not subject to this disclosure requirement. Biometric protections. It updates, this act updates the Biometric Identifier Act to clarify that public availability of biometric data does not imply consent unless the individual made it public. Now, here's what the definition of that. The Texas Capture or Use of Biometric Identifier Act, QB, signed into law in 2009, puts controls on biometric data used to identify individuals for commercial purposes. Second bullet point, exemptions include financial institutions using voice prints, businesses using biometric data solely for training, and AI systems used for security or fraud prevention. It also allows and permits for a sandbox program, allows businesses to test AI systems for up to 36 months in a controlled environment. Participants must submit quarterly reports on performance, risk mitigation, and stakeholder feedback. Enforcement. This is going to be Ken Paxton's office. The Texas Attorney General has exclusive enforcement authority. No private right of action, none, but individuals may file complaints online. Penalties are fairly strict, up to $200,000 for uncurable violations, $40,000 a day for ongoing violations. Cure periods and safe harbors for NIST, which is the National Institutes of Standards and Technology, used to be called the National Bureau of Standards. They changed the name. Framework compliance. State agencies may impose additional sanctions for licensed entities. Oversight. Now, who's looking over this? The Texas Artificial Intelligence Council, under the Department of Information Resources, will guide ethical AI development, provide non-binding reports to the legislature, and implement training programs for government use of AI. And that's it for us today. And now we can take some questions and discussions. Happy to take. But now you don't have it. See how you are.
And as I discussed this with the team, we started looking at this, and it just started blowing up because there's so many aspects of AI that we can go and talk about. Like you said, we see AI everywhere. It's changing. It's going to change the face of education if it hasn't already. And we need to make sure we're ahead of it rather than trying to play catch up. We're well positioned, I would say financially as a college, to make sure that we can stay ahead of AI. I think we're a little behind right now, but I know that there's a AI task force that starts next. I think it's next week or week after. But Tim Musil and I think President Dempsey, I think, are leading that.
Chris Williams, our CIO, has put together several groups to help on the governance side of that. One is focused on they'll reach out to the education side, and administrative side. So we have different groups to help on that.
Including the Bachelor of Science.
Yeah.
Who's on the task.
I'm on there, and I think Dr. Ron is on there also. But my team, particularly instructional designers, will also kind of work with folks, kind of see how can we implement it with technologists into classwork, into the classroom. How can we implement it with our system, and then of course safeguards to make sure that it doesn't be abusive. We look at, like I said, we look at everything, and if anybody in here has ever done a third-party integration with us, we tell them with the LMS it takes at least 6 months. And the reason why is because we have to go through legal. And sometimes we'll bounce back to the company and legal 3 to 4 months, 5 months even. And then it comes to us, we do testing, we make sure it can actually integrate the system without causing any kind of damage or hurting the school in any way. And ultimately it comes down to it's a danger, we deny integration. Okay.
You mentioned that Turnitin has that AI feature. I thought we turned that off.
No, we turned originality back.
It's back on.
It was on.
So the other thing I can tell you is I fooled around with, AI detection models. Because it's continually training, depending upon, I would never go to a student and accuse them of based on just one source. Because they're all different, and I can feed it to zero GPT, and I can feed it to Turnitin, I can feed it, and I get a different answer from every single one.
Yeah.
But if I get consistency, I'm much more suspicious, but I never do it based on one.
I'm glad that Emily said that about Turnitin, about not using that.
So,
So there's so many cases out there where, because Grammarly, at the same time, in 2021, 2022, Turnitin added, their detection. Grammarly added AI, but they're separate. And so there's a case after I went to a SAC COC presentation, and there's a student that literally just lost a scholarship and came off of academic probation because they use Grammarly, and the school that's in Georgia actually paid for Grammarly for its students, but the faculty still use that detection against them and just simply reported it.
No, it's a minefield.
Well, let me finish though. It was so bad because this student happened to have over 1 million followers on TikTok and put it all out there. But there's articles out there, but Grammarly literally gave her a scholarship because the school would not listen. And it was interesting. I did a paper on it. And it's interesting, the school pulled they pulled Grammarly off. She goes the next semester to take the class, and another faculty goes, oh, I suggest you use Grammarly to help you with your paper. So there's no policies, and there's a lot of organizations out there, international organizations and schools that have put policies in place just because of that. So that's what I'm looking for, is a policy. I'm not hoping that's gonna come out of committee.
I also want to know, this is now curious to me, once an integration happens, the third party can make changes. And who keeps track of, they may have been in compliance on day 0 when they got it. But on day 257,000, when I'm actually using it, they're no longer compliant and having 50 million problems.
yeah, and that becomes on us. So if there's issues identified, we reach out to the vendor and we work with them to see if there's an issue. And if there's an issue, so we currently have over 100 integrations.
Oh, I can see them when I go into the well.
But my folks will go back if there's an issue, and issues will pop up, and the technology will have to go and look at it and work with the vendor to see why. And sometimes it's something that we've done on our end, maybe. And when I say we, I'm assuming everybody knows that there's a difference between OTS and my D12 group. But sometimes OTS will do something and it'll impact us because the data is not being pulled properly anymore. So yeah, once we know that there's an issue, we'll address it and we'll work with it to fix it. But anytime we sign an integration contract, it's usually for 3 to 5 years. And then we always have to go back to the integration because by board policy, we can't have contracts more than 5 years. So at least every 5 years, we need to revisit integration, or we will earlier if something breaks.
That, and also many of the vendors are now offering AI in their platform that they weren't doing.
Yes, and if it's integrated with us, we have to run that AI part through legal. So we make sure that whatever they're using legal, they have to abide by the legal terms that the college agrees to. So I'll give you an example. We had one piece of software that we were using, Acuity. We were using it for scheduling. And we can no longer use it. We've moved to a different platform now because Acuity started using a third-party vendor. I can't remember his name. But they had something written in there that they could scour the system. Yeah, there you go. Quantified, that's right. There was another third-party app called Quantified that Acuity uses to, simplify your connection with us.
Yeah.
But Quantify's terms weren't in line with with what our legal thoughts, so we had to cancel it and stop using Acuity. We now move to Outlook, right? Or
Well, bookings.
okay.
We'll do bookings in between and
basically.
But
And
yes,
so beginner,
sometimes
slow coming, right?
it's a process. One thing though, and Amberly mentioned this, there's a couple of things. First of all, if you're using ChatGPT, I hope you're not just using it as a Google, you know, because it can do so much more. But a lot of people use it, what's the capital of, you know, you can use Google for that. But the second thing with that is, like Amberly said, you always have to verify. For something as simple as I was trying to schedule my calendar, you know, my days off, to try to burn days off. So I looked at it and it came back wrong. Like Amberly said, it was telling me the 17th is a Friday, and I'm like, no, the 17th is not a Friday, the 18th is a Friday. So I'm like, hey, that day is wrong. And, oh, thank you for catching that. You know, and then it generates a new date. So you always need to be very careful with it. But, you know, one of the slides that we had that didn't make their cut, I was showing them how in a scholarly fashion, a professor was asked, and I can't remember the name of the professor, but he came back saying, and, you know, it generated some fake content. That this one professor at this institution who was well known was accused of harassment, and it repeated it. But not only did it came back, ChatGPT said it, but it was also being repeated by me. You know, so these models learn, and they will learn wrong information or fake information. But the guy was never in trouble for anything but harassment. So.
Okay, well, got several students that have produced papers, which I asked them to cite the textbook, specific page, specific section, in a specific document that I give them, and they are hallucinations. In other words, you know, AI also, hey, you know, give me a quote from Frederick Douglass' speech. Fits this, and it will fabricate one.
It will make sense.
It will fabricate. So, you know, personally, I do assignments that are ever more simple, and I base them on very small pieces of writing that I can easily double check. And then, you know, and of course, I obviously immediately, you know, what
Well,
happened here.
the number one way that I have detected use of AI in writing assignments is that the references are completely nuts. All I have to do is like, no, I like, done this.
So if I can put a plug in for my instructional designers, if you're concerned about these types of like cheating or students using AI, I would say work with one instructional designers to help create different forms of assessment that makes it harder. Because it's easy to cheat if your assignments lend itself to cheating.
I agree with you, and I think the challenge in STEM disciplines is far greater than the challenge in other places. So there is a certain amount of algorithmic problem solving that you have to become facile at.
Yeah.
And easily AI. Most of the time, right? Seems to be a lot of fun.
And you're right, you know, I saw an article the other day that they said moving from chat GPT-4 to chat 5, you went from having an IQ from about 86 or 89 to, you know, in that time. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that, because to me, I don't see that big of a jump. You know, and I use chat GPT, I build agents out, you can build agents out to do so much stuff.
Yep.
You can make, like, if you have a side business, you can have a scrub the web, pull up your competitors, pull up calling this, generate a business plan. You know, so we need to make sure that our students are aware of how to use it in the correct way. You know, and that I think is where the challenge of higher education is. How do we evolve to meet AI and, you know, because of that?
One thing I learned this summer, I teach history, and I do have some essay assignments. I put my short essay assignment into ChatGPT and asked it to evaluate it on how easy or difficult it might be to cheat on this assignment. I was shocked. It gave me a score. This hard, this, you know, this is, and it outlined the problems, what might make it easier to produce an original writing. Cheat, I don't know, use that word. It broke everything down. And then it said, would you like me to help to revise these questions? That's easy.
AI
Yeah, and it's, you know, like kind of fighting fire with fire, you know. It knows.
It's like what, there was a session on Monday with Pansky, Michelle, she was talking about how it's really positive also, and it can really quickly become your biggest cheerleader You come into it with all these great ideas and they're like, yes, that's amazing. Your students are gonna love that. Let me help you plan it. Here's 8 weeks worth of discussion. Go. And you're like, whoa. That thing too, but she has a question. You want to ask your question?
Sure. So we were told that, you know how AI is so great with, like you were saying, that you have to, whatever you ask AI for, as an instructor, you have to put it on whatever you use. So are y'all doing that? Or
Are you
just-
citing it?
You have to disclose that it came from AI generated assignment or wherever you put it.
I don't know, there's pretty much part of
But what?
You don't think it's a policy?
I cite my images, but I don't put anything that's
Yeah.
exactly from AI.
I think that's like, to me, if you're using something like you're creating an assignment, that means a personal use, it's not out there for general. So if you look at YouTube, you see some videos will say AI generated or, content. I think if you're just using it to create your lesson plan, I don't necessarily know, and that might be a question to run by legal, and kind of get their opinion.
Yeah, I think we,
But yeah,
because one of the deans told us that yesterday, and I was really like, okay,
I'll ask
you know, if I made a
understand
test,
that.
yeah, I
If
made
you
a test
give me your
or
name,
something.
I'll follow up with you.
Okay, all right, thank
Yeah,
you.
because then that makes me start thinking that.
But I also uploaded, like, with my own rubrics, uploaded the rubrics and uploaded student work. And what they say and what I say sometimes is uncannily similar. I mean, yeah, I read everything it puts out, it's much more than I would ever want to use. But I'm like, this is creepy.
But it starts coming back over time.
You are
Once it gets
crazy.
slow, you-
Ask me for ask you.
I was just gonna, just say
So you
that.
tell the story of you with your personal name,
Oh, man.
and you'll find out exactly what ChatGPT knows about you. It was a Tim idea.
Yes.
Oh,
I
yeah,
did that
that
too.
right?
Yeah.
I was gonna mention, for my second presentation, I told you that it came from ChatGPT or from Copilot as a matter of transparency and courtesy, okay? Didn't really have to. I take a more liberal view of this. I do not think that we need to cite the robot. The robot is simply, it's crazy for the entire internet. So if I got it from the internet, if I got it from the robot, that's my business as far as I'm concerned. That's my opinion. I think we have about one or two more minutes. Okay.
Great question.
Thank you.
This is great. Good to see.